What's up guys? Thanks for coming into my first cooking video. Today I wanted to share with you guys a pretty cool pork belly recipe, which is gonna make the crispiest skin you'll ever eat. Honestly, like it just feels like it's covered in a chip. So what you're gonna start doing is with your pork belly, this is a like 500 grams or so piece. You're going to score the skin deep enough so that you get into the fat cap, but not too deep that you get into the meat. And you're gonna try and go into this hash pattern. Then you're going to wrap it up into aluminum foil, making sure to leave the skin uncovered. And that skin, you're just gonna cover it with a lot of salt. You wanna put like what looks like way too much salt, honestly, but at the end we're gonna take it off. And the point is just that the salt is going to remove a lot of the moisture from the skin, which is gonna make it even more crispy when you puff it up. So once this is all set up, we're gonna put it in an oven that's preheated to 325 Fahrenheit, and we're gonna leave that in there for 2 to 2.5 hours. All right, so now it's been about an hour since we put the pork belly into the oven. We're gonna start prepping the sides for the dish. So what I had in mind was just a simple mashed potato with some nice pan-seared and roasted Brussels sprouts. So to begin, we're just gonna chop some shallots and some garlic that we're gonna use for the Brussels sprouts. We're then going to have about a dozen Brussels sprouts. Here I'm making for 2 people, right, for me and my brother. So we're just gonna make a dozen. It's gonna make 12 halves each, and I think that's the perfect amount. After the Brussels sprouts, we're going to peel and cut into small cubes 2 medium to large size potatoes, which we're going to cover in some water and boil for about 30 to 40 minutes. You wanna keep boiling them basically until they're completely breaking apart. The easiest way to tell it is if you're able to go through them with like a paring knife without any difficulty. Like honestly, if it feels easier than cutting butter, then you're pretty much there. So now we can start cooking. In a medium-sized saucepan, we're gonna drop about a tablespoon of butter, which we're going to let come to a foam about, and we're gonna drop in our shallots and garlic. We're gonna add a little bit of salt. This is salted butter, so we don't need to add that much salt to it, but if you're using unsalted, you might wanna put more than I am. We're gonna sweat the shallots and garlic until they're translucent, and we're gonna drop in the Brussels sprouts, and we're gonna start coloring them a little bit in the pan. As soon as the shallots and the garlic are gonna start to look a little bit brownish, I'm gonna put the pan into the oven and let the vegetables roast for a good 30 minutes also. Basically, I'm gonna pull them out once I'm done with the mashed potatoes. Here you can see the potatoes are completely cooked through. So we're gonna take them over to the sink, empty out the water, and then we're gonna come back. And because I don't have a potato masher, I'm just gonna use a wooden spoon. If you cook them well, you're gonna be able to just break them apart with a spoon, and it's still gonna make a silky smooth puree. It might not be perfect, but it's still gonna be an amazing puree. So we're just gonna break up the pieces as small as we can get them. And then we're gonna add in total 2 tablespoons of, in this case, salted butter. And then we're going to season to taste with salt. And finally, in the end, you're gonna see I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons worth of milk. That's because I thought the potatoes were a bit too thick. I wanted them to be a bit more runny for the dish that I was making. So I'm just gonna add that to get a little bit more of a creamy potato. All right, now the Brussels sprouts are done. We're gonna taste one to make sure that the seasoning is right. We're just gonna add a little pinch of salt, and we're gonna toss them together and put them aside so that we can just move on to the main part, which is the pork belly. So as you can see, all the salt that we put on top just kind of crystallized together. The moisture from the fat and the skin evaporated into the salt, and it just made this crust. So we're just gonna remove that crust with a spoon and then with a little bit of a paintbrush, and we're gonna put it back into the oven set to broil. And as you can see, the skin is just going to puff up and become this super nice crispy bit. And with all that done, we're just gonna cut the meat into pieces and we're gonna start plating.